Martin Warnes. You are the founder and managing director of Join Social Care, which is a public interest company focused on driving awareness around the fantastic employment opportunities in social care. Welcome to the Care Home Show.
Great, thank you for having me.
So,
I'm fairly new to the sector. I've only worked in the care sector for a couple of months, and so your podcast has been a good part of my education process, Simon.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm really glad to hear that. It's interesting. I've had a few people, people who are kind of relatively new to the sector, say how much value that they've got from that. So I always appreciate hearing good news about the show. So thank you very much, sir. Getting straight into it. Obviously, there is a huge workforce shortage in the care world. So it sounds like you're up to something really special and equally something very important. So help me understand a little bit more about Join Social Care and really why it was established in the initial instance.
Okay, so Join Social Care was established in the first wave of COVID. Now that feels like at least one lifetime ago, and it was commissioned by the Department of Health and Social Care to really, I think, to look at three interconnected problems. And I think the first of those problems is looking at the care sector. So according to Skills for Care, there are 112,000 vacancies on any given day within the care sector. So it's a staggering amount of vacancies. There's also challenges around for care providers. So care providers who I talk to on a daily basis really struggle to find and hire care workers. And then the third interconnected problem is really around people in the UK who in 2020 have been furloughed, who suffer and worry from low job security, many redundancies during the last few months, and higher unemployment. And there has been extensions to the furlough scheme. So there's been an extension to the furlough scheme announced today, which does give financial security to a lot. But there are significant challenges for lots of current workers and also lots of unemployed folk across the UK. So they're the three big problems that we see, and they're the three problems that were in the Department of Health and Social Care's mind when they commissioned a new national recruitment platform for the care sector. And so in terms of our objectives and what we're looking to achieve, they're really connected to those problems. So firstly, for the sector, we're seeking to help close that vacancy gap. 112,000 vacancies is incredible, and we want to make a meaningful dent into that for the sector. I think for providers, we're looking to provide a new service and a tool to those providers that helps them hire quality staff and also helps them save time and money. Those providers have got lots of frontline challenges at the moment as we go into the second lockdown, and hiring should be something that's helping them. It shouldn't be something that's absorbing their management time and energy. And then thirdly, for people, we want to try and connect as many of those people who've been made redundant recently, who are unemployed or who are on furlough, with some of the great opportunities that are in the care sector. And if we can make an impact into those objectives, then we'll be really proud. We'll feel like that Join Social Care has had impact.
Got you. Thanks for just laying that out for me, if you like. So we've got 112,000 vacancies as it stands today. To my understanding, there's 450,000 people that work in social care as it stands today. So effectively, we've got more than 25%, effectively like roughly 25%. Mathematics is definitely not my strong point, but it's roughly 25% shortfall in the total workforce, that's an astonishing number when you think these are the people that are looking after the vulnerable people in our society.
Yeah, it is. And before I came before I came into the care sector, I wasn't aware that there was such a big shortfall, and it's easy to, you hear the number and you think, well, that's a big number. That's, that's X% of the total workforce. But what it also equates to is care that's not being provided, or care that's not being provided to the levels that either we would want to give, or that we would want to receive, or that we would want our parents to receive, or our friends' parents to receive. So it's a big number, and it equates to a big problem on the front line as well.
Mm. And you're right, there are the kind of the three different elements of the equation, if you like, that I guess you've got to kind of factor into the whole scenario, if you like. There are other campaigns that have kind of maybe a broadly a similar ambition. Can you tell me about what makes the campaign itself special, and why you personally feel it's so important?
Okay. So what I see joint social care as part of the solution to those problems, and they're really considerable challenges that the care sector faces. But I don't think we're looking to solve that problem on our own. We're not the only solution, and I do think that it's important that there are multiple services and approaches that are tried. I think innovation is really important. There's some great new providers coming into the sector. I see some really interesting things happening in the sector, and I think what's really important is we have kind of innovation clusters to drive an industry forward. So I would hope that joint social care is a driving force in that, but also inspires others to try things. However, you did ask me what's special about joint social care, and I'm not going to pass up that opportunity. So for joint social care, we've created an online platform, jointsocialcare.co.uk, that allows candidates to be registered, to be vetted, and to receive training to become a carer, to work on the front line. And as far as we know, this partnership it's a first across Europe for any care system. And ultimately, it's aiming to benefit millions of patients, old and vulnerable people, who really need that care. And I mean, obviously, the Department of Health and Social Care were reacting to circumstances during the spring. But I think they deserve great credit for reacting quickly to that, and so assertively with the new venture. So I think in terms of why we're special, I think for candidates, we're taking candidates on a journey. So we're seeking to get them to be ready for work, so ready for a new career. And we do that through our onboarding journey. So we help candidates register, we help them through compliance, so DBS checks, and they receive a certified training program. And that resonates really well with the candidates, and we think that offering is special, and we see it as being unique as well. I think for providers, we're giving providers an opportunity to test and benefit from a new approach, and that new approach is to work with the service where the vision is about providing ready to work candidates. So we seek to provide providers with candidates who are further down the recruitment funnel, who've got certified training, who have got their DBS checks, who are much closer to being slotted into an actual opportunity on the front line. And we see that as a real opportunity for providers to extend their hiring practices as well. I think it's also special because it's free. So care providers have, they've had a tough year in lots of ways, and it's also been tough economically.
Mm.
And this is an opportunity to mitigate some of the costs that those care providers will have, and significant costs as well, um, by bringing new candidates on their business at no financial cost to them. And so I do think it's a special proposition, but we're also part of a movement, and I'm very supportive of other services who are trying things as well.
It's interesting that you see the landscape and the kind of what could be deemed as competition as being part of a hopefully kind of a paradigm shift towards the solution, which is really, really good. I also really appreciate the thing that technology usually enables is better, faster, cheaper, and you've got better, faster, free, which hopefully that's an even better place to be. And I think one of a challenge of from a candidate perspective is that kind of especially from somebody new into the sector, to be able to have a certain amount of that kind of onboarding work, the preparation side of things to be managed really right at the beginning of the journey, I think is of real benefit. And then of course being able to take away a chunk of not just the work, but then also probably kind of screening out candidates that probably aren't suitable for whatever reason. Ultimately, where I speak to hundreds of care home leaders every year. The one thing that people talk about almost inevitably, if you kind of start saying kind of where do your biggest challenges lie, it's around, oh well, recruitment and retention. It's always kind of part of the thing, and such a big part of it is time. So being able to drive efficiency around that, I think, is very, very key. And it's not a surprise that it's been successful even in the relatively early stages of the campaign. So it's great to hear what you're up to. Tell me a little bit about your background and kind of how does your background align so well with Join Social Care, but having not previously been involved directly with the social care world, if you like.
Yeah. So my background was I worked for about 19 years with the Reed recruitment business, who I think very highly of. They're a fantastic family-owned business with great with great values and an entrepreneurial spirit. And I was managing director of their online business, reed.co.uk, for 11 years. And I think during that time, I've learned a lot, and I did a lot that I think is very transferable to Join Social Care. I mean, essentially, what we were doing with read.co.uk and also with Join Social Care is building, for want of a better word, a marketplace of candidates and recruiters. With read.co.uk, we operated that over 40 sectors, and that gave you and that was great because it gave you real visibility across a wide range of providers, and you could work of employers, rather than providers, and you could work with those employers across a lot of their disciplines. Whereas with but what it was also harder to do was to become really specialist in any sector. Whereas with Join Social Care, it is about being much more, it's going deeper into that sector without having to accommodate the needs of multiple sectors. But it is about building a marketplace of activity. And I think what I learned with Reed was it was about bringing those two groups of customers together at the right moment. They've both got an objective, whether it's to find a job or to hire, and a successful marketplace will create that serendipity, that matching and that meeting at the right moment, and make that as simple as possible for your customers. And that's really what we're looking to achieve with Join Social Care as well. We're looking to create a service that brings the prospective care worker and the care provider together at the right moment, when we've got when availability meets demand, and that's what success looks like for us. I think what I also learned through read.co.uk was that communication is really important. You communicate to your customers really clearly, really honestly. You need to work at speed. Everyone is in a hurry. Your candidates are in a hurry. They want employment. Your employers are in a hurry. They've got vacancies, and so your marketplace needs to work quickly. It needs to work now, not tomorrow. I think also within my background, I was always taught to put the customer first. And when we had a problem, the best way to solve that problem was to go back to, well, what does the customer want? What are they telling us? And if you can understand the customer, and if you can understand their problems, their needs, and their objectives, then actually you've got a good opportunity to help address those problems. And that's very much the spirit that I bring this into this role, to be as close to our customers as we can, so the candidates and the care providers, to ultimately deliver them the most effective service that we can deliver.
I think that's one of the things, isn't it? Kind of I think technology companies are good at being customer obsessed, and I think it's because they enable these journeys, these services through technology. Because you don't have that direct human to human interaction, you have to make sure that when you're building and developing and improving, that human interaction side of things is there. And you see it happen quite a lot. Everyone's been frustrated with the kind of the user experience of a website or a piece of technology, and it's often because I would imagine because the product people, the development people have maybe missed the trick. Maybe they haven't asked the right questions. They haven't had an opportunity to collect that feedback. So being able to be super customer obsessed, and I'm sure that I can imagine that the Read Online business was very much focused on that, being able to bring that type of I guess kind of almost philosophy to building out the platform and things like that is going to be really, really key to success. But keeping people happy, obviously because it's a technology platform. I think especially where sometimes people undervalue what's free, no matter how kind of value it can derive. So you don't want to give anyone excuses to not be super excited about it. So having a really well designed, well engineered platform that just does exactly what it says on the tin, that's where the sweet spot's going to be. So it's really good to hear that that's a fundamental part of all of this, and it definitely answers the question around why you're the right man to join Social Care forward.
Yeah, and I think the point about it being free, I think as you were alluding to there, I think free is a really nice way to get people to try something. But your customers will only continue to try something if they find ongoing value within it.
Yeah, it's got to be spot on.
Because nothing is really free. It does take time, and it takes attention. So although things don't have a monetary cost, they do require investment of time from a customer. So it has to be backed up with real value as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. From obviously you've got two different sides to the platform, if you like. Let's go candidates first. So what kind of candidates and well, I guess the question is, what type of candidates and clients are you looking to try and support with the platform? So what are the profile of those two worlds look like, and who are you most looking to try and support?
Okay, so for candidates, we anybody can register with Join Social Care, and in my mind, I do think that anyone can care. but ultimately you have to have the right attitude and mindset to really be able to care. For candidates, we onboard candidates who have experience of the sector, and also candidates who have no experience of the sector as well, so completely fresh. And I think for Join Social Care, I think the real value add is really about bringing new candidates into the sector, so helping to increase the overall population of care workers. That's what I would see as being our real calling, and hence our offering to candidates is really aligned with that, with the registration and the training program. It's really about guiding people into the sector. For providers, we work with all CQC registered providers currently in England. At the moment, Join Social Care is specifically England, although I'm very keen that we extend that to the rest of the UK in time also. So within the CQC registered providers, there could be, there's obviously lots of home care providers. There's residential homes. There'll be local authorities within there, and we work with a mixture of all of those.
Got you. That makes sense. And I mean, it makes sense to have that kind of big open market. Obviously, it's a huge problem, so you need to be kind of reaching out to as many people as possible. So yeah, that makes total sense. And okay, so if people kind of coming from outside the sector, if you like, how would a candidate usually go about joining the social care world if they weren't kind of exposed to the Join Social Care platform? How would that usually play out, if you like?
That's a really good question. And I've talked to lots of candidates over the last couple of months, and also lots of people within the sector as well. And what really stands out to me in terms of the motivations for joining the sector is how strong personal experience stands within that.
Mm.
And that may be because you've had some experience as a carer, perhaps for a family member or a loved one, or else you may know a family member that was a care worker themselves, and that's something that resonates with me very personally. My mother worked in the care sector for, well, she still does actually, but the whole of my childhood, and she's now retired, but she's gone through her retirement. She's still working, but she was a home care assistant and then a residential home manager in Berkshire. So it was a backdrop of my childhood, and I think that was a pull for me to come in towards this sector. I think referral for friends are another trigger to come into the sector. So I think we can see motivations as being, I think, quite personally driven. I think people want to come into the sector. I think other pointers into the sector, I think we see people like the DWP do a good job of referring people towards social care, and I've met some great people at the DUP over the last couple of months, and talking about Join Social Care with them, and how we may be able to align the work that the DWP do with unemployed candidates and directing them towards the care providers on Join Join Social Care. So I think they're also a really positive influence within here as well. I think also with candidates, I think when candidates do become aware of the sector, and that awareness can be sparked by, from friends from the DWP, by seeing an advert on a job board. I think what they realise is that there's a wide range of roles. There's a lot of providers, and there's also some great opportunities. So I think when we're successful at creating awareness, I think candidates quickly see the employment opportunities. But what I also feel, and this is personally and from conversations, are the candidates that are successful in the sector and will endure in the sector. So they're not candidates who will leave after 3 months, 6 months. they're candidates who have a real sense of vocation, who feel a real sense of purpose around caring, and actually, feel passionate about caring for individuals and making a profound difference to individuals' lives and their community. Yeah, I think I've been really struck by that, by the sense of vocation and altruism that so many of the people in the sector do. And because the work's not always, as you will know, the work is not always easy. And I think that sense of vocation is really important.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I think social care does a pretty good job of weeding out the people that are maybe in it for the wrong reasons, because it's difficult work. Often it can be quite unglamorous. It's immensely rewarding, but you need to have that right value set. You need to have that kind of alignment with the kind of the overall purpose of the care organisation and the vision for what they're trying to achieve. Which I think is I'm very big on kind of cultural alignment and things. That's something that I'm very, very passionate about. So yeah, no, I can definitely connect with that particular message. And I think there's we'll probably come on to talk about it, but I think there's with everything that's going on with COVID, there's a lot of people that work in sectors outside of the care world who they've probably got that right culture, they've got the right value set, they've got the right reason behind wanting to provide service and to support the people that they're looking after. So yeah, big opportunity from that perspective. Obviously we've squared away the candidate side of things, but from a provider perspective, how are people typically going about the type of recruitment that Join Social Care would look to attract?
I think with care providers who I speak to, they invest hugely around online advertising, using job boards, social networking sites. I think to a really large extent, I was quite surprised at how dominating this was in the hiring activity for care providers. And I think the kind of the net result of that is that care providers, they're investing a huge amount of time and money around that activity. I think outside of those job boards and social networking sites, I think you can see some really interesting things around referral programs. I think there's some nice initiatives happening at the moment. Something like Care Friends is really neat. I think, and I'm quite a fan of referrals generally. I think there's some examples of press and radio advertising, but I would say that's relatively limited. And actually, what I really see is care providers involved in job boards and search engines. Really investing a lot in auctions for candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a challenge for the sector, and how it attracts candidates to find better routes to attract candidates.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? So Neil Eastwood from Care Friends, who I was only chatting with a couple of days ago, as it goes, I think so. He did some research about this. He's been on the podcast handful of times. It's a while ago now, so if anyone knows this figure, forgive me if I state the wrong number, and Neil specifically, forgive me. I think it may be made up. I think it's about 11% of people that joined social care on average came through job boards. I think that was maybe the second or third largest channel outside of referrals, and I was, when I found that out, I was almost, I think, surprised, because I would have thought that tech-enabled introductions, let's say, would make a bigger part. Now, there was no data around kind of how that's grown over a period of time, or what the kind of annual growth rate of that was over a set number of a period of time, if you like, my
Yeah.
assumption would probably be that that's going up. But I'd say that almost feels like there's feels like opportunity. Feels like if it was done really, really well, then that could be a much bigger number. Now, it's obviously not always going to play into maybe different demographics of candidates and potentially even providers as well. But I'd say that yeah, if the number is 11, or maybe it's a little bit higher or
Yeah.
lower than that. Again, my memory fails me sometimes. But I could envisage that growing over time, and hopefully joint social care and some of those other initiatives and things will play a part in that. Whether that's however that kind of plays out over time, and however kind of new technologies and things can develop to expedite that introduction process in ways that we haven't even thought of so far.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's interesting. I think if I'm sure he'll text you if the number's wrong.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
Yeah, he's probably listening. But no, I don't. 11% doesn't feel like kind of the level of activity, the level of effort and investment has gone towards it. So yeah, there probably feels like there's some imbalance there. But yeah, I think for providers, it's the hiring is a real challenge in this sector, and I don't think the providers have found the magic bullet yet. And generally there is no magic bullet. It's good solutions come from trying things over a period of time, failing, and other things, and that's how innovation works. And I think that's the path to success for hiring in our sector as well.
There's definitely plenty of opportunity for kind of technological transformation. Let's broadly kind of put it into that. But one of the things that I found from my consulting business, SP&P, is so we help providers of care home providers, with a selection of different kind of operational challenges and opportunities, if you like. And one of the big things that comes up quite regularly is, oh, well, I think we're ready to. I'm kind of paraphrasing and using maybe slightly different language, but they'll say things like, "Oh, we're ready for some type of technological transformation. We're going to start thinking about care planning and things." And the where we always go with that is, great. That sounds really, really good. Before we start having a conversation about the technology transformation side of things, we need to have a conversation about the cultural transformation side of things, because people have to have a different mindset, a different set of behaviors and things to be able to adopt and to be comfortable in using technology. And I think we're going broadly in the right direction with this, and that will, as I say, that will only increase over time. So hopefully, as that does, it will also increase the innovation. So not just the overall kind of volume and things like that, but again, how we do it, how do we expedite that, how do we make that the most efficient, the most robust, the most seamless process, how can we build value and all of that type of stuff in a way that's ultimately, again, it's a big number, 112,000 people, to be able to start chipping away at that, hopefully with some big old chunks.
But I think your observation there around transformation is correct, that transformation follows cultural change, not the other way round. It's transformation is often viewed as new systems and processes, but it's not. It's about a mindset of a group of people understanding they've got an objective and they need to change their strategy and approach to achieve that. And when you've all when a group of people decide that, that's really powerful. And when they all understand their behaviors, their personal behaviors and actions and accountability have to change as well, that's when you're ready for transformation.
Yeah, definitely. So where do you feel that the biggest disconnect is in between these two worlds? Maybe we've kind of already touched upon it on some level, but like from where you're sitting, where do you think that biggest disconnect is?
I think one of the big disconnect is around general awareness.
Sure.
So before I came into the sector, which was two and a half months ago, I wasn't aware of the level of opportunities that were here and how accessible the opportunities were to people with the right kind of attitude and mindset. And so I think there is an awareness challenge.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And and I absolutely think joint social care can help play its part within that. I think further down the line, I think it's a question around, do candidates understand the roles? So once they're aware, do they understand the roles that they're applying for? And if they don't understand the roles and do take a job, then there's a high risk of them leaving after a short period of time and staff turnover, which is is a real challenge to care providers as well. There's typically high staff turnover within providers. I think another disconnect is around how well we communicate the benefits of working in the sector. It's a really great sector that offers lots, but how well do we communicate that? And I think also something I've been I'm very alive to around candidates is the candidates who are on joint social care are they're very available. They're looking for work today, but they're also looking for work with within other sectors as well. And although the UK economy is having a tough time in lots of sectors, it is creating lots of vacancies around transport, logistics. So there is competition for the talent and the applicants, and we need to be really, really fast to secure the candidates to come and work in the care sector. So I do think there are some points of disconnect, and they go from awareness, down to the actual hiring process and how quick we are at responding to people.
There's almost three parts to that. So you've got your awareness, just the fact that the social care world kind of, not that it exists, but that could be an opportunity. But your awareness, you then got your appreciation, so actually getting in to kind of understand it. That probably looks like having a new role. That means going through a recruitment process, people getting their heads around it, and then you've got kind of the engagement piece as well, and that's just as much on the provider side as anything else, to make sure that people are properly on board and make sure they feel like part of the team, make sure they feel like they've been invested in, make sure that they feel understood and appreciated. I'd kind of break it down into those kind of three kind of key areas. If you
and that last one, that onboarding and engagement is probably more difficult now than it was.
Yeah, sure, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt.
You're not meeting people as there's less face-to-face interaction, and there's creating that intimacy, I suppose, is definitely more difficult now than it was.
Another one of the things that I guess kind of sits within that a little bit is the fact that I know a handful of people who are CEOs or C-suite executives or kind of senior leadership, the most senior of senior leadership, and they started out on the front line in a frontline capacity, and it's wonderful to see. And those stories exist. They're maybe not as plentiful as we might like, but there are. I know a good number of people who maybe they finished school, didn't know exactly what to do with their lives, ended up kind of falling into care, kind of almost haphazardly, completely by accident, fell in love with it. Some people went through the care route. Some people ended up thinking, all right, well, I'll go and get kind of my nursing degree and things like that. And they've worked their way up the kind of the leadership ladder, and now they're responsible for, I don't know, 15, 20 care homes. And they yeah, they're at the top of the game, and hopefully they're inspiring that next generation of people, of leaders to go through that journey. And I mean, that's not to say that doesn't happen in other sectors, but I think I'd like to think that because of the opportunities and because of the kind of the vast network of social care providers there are in the country, that there should be more opportunity to rise through the ranks, if you like, prove yourself, and go on to do kind of things that maybe they wouldn't have even dreamed that they could have done kind of earlier on in their career, if you will.
I mean, that is a brilliant point. And I think a great thing about the care sector, it feels to me as though it's quite meritocratic.
Mm-hmm.
If you come into it and you put that effort in, and you put the hours in, and you're smart and you listen and you're collaborative, then you can build a really great career. And what you just described there, from going from being on the front line to being a leader of a business, that's amazing. And there aren't that many industries in the UK, I think, where you can achieve that.
Mm.
So if that's part of the hook to bring good people into the sector, amongst all of the other benefits, to actually be able to progress to a real leadership position, that's wonderful.
Mm. Definitely. And equally so as well, I guess, like, let's talk about kind of individual aspirations and things. Some people do want that leadership role. Some people want they want to be a carer. That's all they want to do. They fall into it, and they fall in love with it. And some of the best carers that I've ever met have literally spent 10, 20, 30 years being a carer, and they couldn't see themselves doing anything else. It's so meaningful and so purposeful. So not only can it be a job where people can achieve great things in the context of kind of career development and things like that, it can definitely be a career for life. Because if you can care when you're 16, 18 years old, you can care when you're 60, 70. I mean, there are wonderful stories in the newspaper every now and then about kind of people working in care homes in their 80s and things like that, which is, I mean, it's just fantastic, isn't it? But it just shows that I doubt very much you'll have somebody in 80 in logistics. There's not going to have that type of draw. I mean, maybe there are some kind of anomalies out there, but I'd be surprised. It would be a big surprise if that were the case. So I think it just reinforces the reason why the social care world is a great place to develop, to feel fulfillment, and to create a career at whatever level people kind of aspire for. The opportunity there to do it. So tell me a little bit about your view around how COVID-19 will impact social care recruitment.
I think some of that impact is already baked in, and starting in February and March, I think all providers will have had to have made adjustments to how they hire and onboard their care workers. I think hiring and onboarding, it will continue to function at a distance for the foreseeable future. We might speculate what foreseeable future means, but I would certainly be prepared for an extended disruption around COVID, and possibly more lockdowns. I think we have to be really alive to that being a possibility. So I think for the providers to be I think my advice to the leadership of care businesses is that they should walk through the process themselves. Is the hiring experience that's now being offered to candidates one that they're happy with? So I think really get close to the process themselves, and also going back to putting your customers first, also asking their candidates what they think about the process, and also acting on that feedback as well. I think that's really important for any care provider. I think technology can help. I think you can use You can use video interviewing. You can use applicant tracking systems. You can use other bits of technology. But I think that should all be, those technologies should all be adopted because you understand the process and the service that you're looking to provide. And unfortunately, that will be at much more of a distance than we would like it to be. But we need to make sure that during the process that we're displaying empathy with the candidates, that we are engaging them, that we are communicating the brand and the benefits as effectively as possible. We don't want the hiring process, the hiring and onboarding process, to feel cold and transactional. So that would be. I think that's the risk. But I think those things can be overcome. All of those things can be overcome. Well, they're difficult to overcome, but I think we can certainly by talking to our hiring teams and to the candidates, I think we can make it. We can do a good job.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that in more well-developed organizations and sectors, people talk about employer value propositions and employer brands and these types of things. All too often I see people with clunky recruitment processes and real frustration from a candidate perspective around their own candidate experience, let's say, and the kind of the leadership team will complain bitterly around that the fact that they can't get commitment from their candidates, and that they don't feel good about the kind of the potential kind of in the workforce and things like that. And there's a real lack of introspection there, and there's a scale there, right? So you can there are people that are just practically doing nothing and then being annoyed at the world. There are people who are really trying, and they're on kind of a little bit of a journey. I guess the message within that is, wherever you are on that journey, there's always, like, you'd like to think that all people would be focused on making sure that they're always taking their care to the next level, and kind of evolving in things over time, from a recruitment process, from an onboarding process, from a retention process kind of perspective, if you like. Those things need to be embedded and ingrained into the DNA of people's experiences, because their experiences will drive how they feel. And if people feel great about the recruitment process and their onboarding process and how they kind of develop within an organization, they're going to feel like they don't want to leave. That's a primary factor in the whole thing. And where the sector, I think the national average of any provider in the country is kind of 30-ish%, which I know lots of people that have got worse retention than that. I know quite a few people have got fantastic, much lower than that. But again, it just goes to show that there's a big opportunity from that perspective as well. And this kind of leads me on to one of my next points, which was what's your view around the perception of social care?
That's a good question. I think the perceptions of social care, I mean, I think unfortunately from the outside are frequently negative. And I think those perceptions would be that the sector is, I think you used the phrase unglamorous earlier, that the work is often unglamorous, that the pay is, that the pay is not great. I think because of some of the press that has revolved around the sector this year, I think some people may have questioned how safe the work is. So I think there's a lot of negative perceptions, and those negative perceptions, some of those things there might be some truth in. The pay is not always great, and the work's definitely not always glamorous. I would say that that care providers have done a great job about being safe, and the CQC does a great job of ensuring that safety. But so there are absolute challenges. There's a lot there to overcome. And I think from the outside, I think the positives of working in the sector, aren't always heard clearly enough. There was a great, a few minutes ago we were talking about your ability to rise from the front line to a leadership position if you've got the talent and you put the work in, which is hugely inspiring and empowering. I don't think what always comes across also is I think some of the emotional value of working of being part of the care sector, about the sense of purpose, how meaningful the work is, that you're helping your community. I mean, I was struck when I took this position with Joint Social Care. You know, several of my friends, they said that sounds really meaningful, or that's really important, and that gave me a huge boost. There was real kind of recognition of, I felt, what I was doing there. And I think also from a more, I suppose, more practical and financial level, the sector can offer great transferable skills. A year working as a home care worker in a care home, you will learn a lot,
Mm.
and there'll be a lot of things in there you can take into any other job you will ever do. So huge transferable skills. There's progress into other healthcare roles. Yes, I think the sector's got a huge amount to offer that I don't think from the outside those benefits are always understood. And I think it's a real shame, and I think it's one collectively that I think is really important we improve. And the Department of Health and Social Care, they do really good work here. And the Everyday is Different campaign, I think, has played a really good role at welcoming and educating candidates into the sector, and I think I've been impressed by that. But I think collectively we need to do even more than that, and I think we've got a really good opportunity to talk really positively and really honestly about what working in the sector's like. And it won't be for everyone, but it will attract a lot of people who can deliver great care and would love to be given the opportunity to do it. I think if we're better at communicating the benefits, I think the rewards in terms of more people coming into the sector will be great.
You know what? I think there's I can't think of a better way to wrap up than on that particular note. So, Martin Warnes, thank you so much for joining me on the Care Home today, and wishing you all the best with the Joint Social Care campaign.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Simon.
Very welcome.